What's going on, guys? It's Bob from Olympusiron, and with the cut starting, a lot of people have been asking me the question, how do you start a cut? And I realized that I don't see this video being made a lot, and if it is, I haven't seen it, but this is going to be my personal way that I like to start a cut. So the first thing I always do is set a weight goal. When I started this cut, the first thing I did was say I want to be 190 pounds. And I was realistic with myself because I've been at 190 pounds. I know what I look like at 190 pounds, and that's a comfortable weight where I'm happy with the way I look, and that's what I desire to be. So that's what I set. The next step, guys, and of course I have a little more knowledge of my body because I've cut before, but if you don't have a lot of knowledge on your specific body, it's finding that calorie amount that is ideal for what you're doing. And don't overstress this, guys, because this is going to change a lot. Most times if you hire an online coach, they're going to throw an arbitrary amount at you, or they're going to do a BMR calculation with an activity factor in there. And if you need the BMR calculation, make sure that you're also multiplying it by the activity factor. For me, I started at 2,800 calories because I live a sedentary life for most of my day. Most of my day is behind a desk. So when I get out, yeah, I do physical exercise, but it's not so much cardio that I'm burning a ton of calories. So you have to be realistic with yourself. Of course, I wanted to set my macros the first thing to like 3,500, but realistically, guys, I knew from my personal experience that 3,500 calories would probably make me gain weight consistently. So I set it at 2,800 calories. So if you don't know your amount, I would suggest a good starting point is calculating your BMR by going to Google, using a BMR calculator, and then multiplying it by activity factor. Don't overstress this, guys. This is the beginning. This is you setting a caloric goal at this point. And if it needs to be adjusted, it needs to be adjusted. What we're trying to do is not set it too low. That is the one thing. If you're confused about where to set your calories, always set it up. You know, you can always taper it down at that point. Guys, you have to understand that I treat my body like a science experiment in the fact that I test certain things, and you change a variable and you see if you have any results from that variable, and it's important that you only change that variable. So tracking your macros is absolutely essential for this process. So therefore, MyFitnessPal is a great app for you guys to use. That's what I use. You can friend me there. I accept everybody. You could check that in the description box below to see maybe similar things that I fit into my diet. Now, there's two ways that you can go about this, is that you can fit in whatever you like, or you can fit in more healthier, micronutrient dense foods, which I would suggest. It's all what's sustainable for you. So at that point, once you've gotten your calories, the next step is breaking it up into ratios. You have to understand that fat is 9 calories per gram. Your carbs and protein is going to be 4 calories, and alcohol about 7 calories. So at this point, guys, you need to split it up. I tend to like to do a 30% protein, I like to do a 30% fat, and I like to do a 40% carb. Specifically because carbs for me personally, and this is from experimenting, guys, is carbs for me, I do not process them as well. I can do very, very well with just basically a fat and protein diet. But at this point, I'm actually going to try incorporating some moderate carbs in my diet to see if I can keep some of that fullness and size as I come down in a slower cut. So for you guys, I would say experiment with what you need to do. Try low carb, try low fat, whatever works. I find that everyone's different. Everyone needs protein, but I feel like so many people load up on too much protein. They go into the 40% range, 50% range, and if your carbs are high and if your fats are high or moderate, I find that doing that high of protein really doesn't benefit you. The only time that I'll do like 50% protein is if it's 60% protein, 40% fats, is like 0 carbs, basically none when you go on to like ketosis or anything like that. But I would not recommend that. I would recommend you doing a 30% protein and doing 40 and 30 fat, or vice versa, do 40% fat and 30% carb. It's all depending on you guys. This is the most important thing, is that people try to look at me, try to look at other people and say, what's your diet, what's your macros, because they want to use us as an example. And that's a good starting point, guys, but this is you. You're an individual, you have individual factors, your activity level, the things you do, your hobbies, your work style. That's why you hire somebody to do this stuff. But if you're dedicated enough and you're calculated, you can do all this stuff by yourself. So at that point, once I have the percentages, I put that into my macros, MyFitnessPal, as my goals. And you can do that into goals. You just go to MyFitnessPal goals, you put your calorie amount, and then you put your percentages, and it'll automatically calculate out. It'll actually show a running ticker throughout the day where you're at, you know, hey, I've taken in 100 grams of protein, I have 110 left, and it'll actually show that calculation, which is pretty great. The other thing I would do is have a variety of foods at your disposal. So granted, it fits your macros, you can fit anything in there, but I always like to fit in fun foods, and I like consistent foods that are my go-tos. My salsa chicken is always my go-to protein. I have that consistently in the house. Egg whites is always consistent in my house for a protein source. Nailing down your protein source is going to be your one huge challenge that you need to you need to find a way to make it enjoyable. So look up my salsa chicken recipe that's in the description box below, but you can also use Brandon Campbell's as well, that does a barbecue and buffalo version, so you can check out his channel for that. Those are good ways to keep your chicken moist if you're going to contain it for a couple of days. Also, egg whites are a good quick source, and they're pasteurized, so you can drink it right out of the carton, which is what I do. Quest bars, which is also a great quick protein source as well, but you do get carbs and fat with that as well. Of course, you're getting animal fat with chicken as well. I just find that it's easier to fit fats and carbs rather than protein, because at the end of the day, if you have 100 grams of protein left, it might be tough to crunch that in. So I like to plan my protein and have fun with my carbs, and kind of plan my fats as well, get that from almond butter and get it from good sources like coconut oil. So for me personally, that's just what I like to do. Carbs are very, very easily accessible. Cereal, you know. And I like to save on things like milk. In milk, I'll do almond unflavored, you know, unsweetened almond milk, or a vanilla unsweetened, so it keeps the calories low. So there's give and take, guys. It's not all going to be easy just because you can fit this stuff in. You do have to combat hunger as well. Sometimes if you get all your macros in at 8 o'clock, that's crunch time, because a lot of people actually snack from 8 to 12 when they're going to bed. So you need to figure out when your time to save on calories is. For me personally, I get up, I drink my egg whites, and I'll have a yogurt or I'll have a cereal, and then I'll actually take a little time off from food, maybe have a Quest bar at 11:30. Then I go into my chicken during lunchtime, 1 o'clock, along with an apple, and then a couple of scoops of almond butter, and I keep a tablespoon with me, guys. This is the other tip that you need when you're cutting. You need a scale. You need a digital scale that you can take with you. I have a little mini one, or you need, or if you have a scale at home, weigh out your stuff before you do it. Weigh everything, guys. When I say this is a science, you cannot guesstimate a handful of almonds. You cannot guesstimate a fist amount of chicken. You can't guesstimate that stuff, guys. Remember, we're trying to keep things consistent, and then we're trying to change variables here. From this point, when you're sticking to your macros, first week you're going to lose weight because you're going to drop water, obviously. So that's my throwaway week. I don't track at that point. I weigh myself, but I don't make adjustments. I give myself two to 3 weeks of staying at that 2,800 calories before I change it. So right now I'm still at 2,800 calories. I've dropped about 3 pounds from my 209, so I'm about 206 right now. And next week I'll weigh myself, and if I am still 206, I will wait a week. If I'm still 206, then I will adjust my calories, guys. I don't adjust my calories just from 1 week, because there's anomalies. If 1 week you don't lose weight, okay. In 2 weeks you don't lose weight, It's time to drop the calories or up the cardio. Now, dropping calories, I drop calories 200 calories at a time, guys. Do not make these huge jumps in calorie cutting, because what's going to happen is unless you have to cut for something really quickly, you're going to lose muscle and you're going to be exhausted, and it's not sustainable. You're going to plummet. Your energy levels are going to plummet by dropping your calories. You're going to be hungrier. You're going to be more miserable. So at this point, you want to do 200 calories. But at the same time, not only do I drop my calories, but some weeks, say I go 2 weeks without losing weight, instead of dropping calories, I'll add in cardio. And adding cardio, guys, doesn't mean going to 0 to 100 real quick. It doesn't mean going from no cardio to an hour a day. That is the last thing that you want to do. Me personally, I start with 15 to 20 minutes every other day. And that's sustainable. It's easy. I can throw up my laptop, or I can throw up my tablet or whatever and watch things, you know, while I'm doing my cardio. It's a pretty quick experience. Usually I'll start with like a incline treadmill. I'll go out like a 9 incline with a 3 speed. Also, you'll see me hit the bag, you'll see me do the stepper, you'll see me run outside. There's a lot of different things. I like to vary it up, I like to mix it up, so that's some of the cardio that I do. But that's an option that you can do as well, because at some point you can't drop your calories anymore, and at some point I don't want to drop my calories, you know? So right now I'm starting to incorporate cardio 20 minutes here and there, but once I stop losing weight, I'll up the cardio or lower the calories. There's 2 ways that you can make the net you can make the net greater in your favor, burning more calories than you're intaking. So at that point, you know, cardio or food, but it has to be a slow process for each. There's not an hour of cardio right away or dropping 500 calories right away. So that's the next step, guys. The other thing you need to keep in mind is body composition. Alright? You need to see what changes are happening. Right away, this isn't going to be apparent because you're generally going to hold more body fat than you think you are. I personally hold body fat under my chest, around my stomach, and on my ass and inner thigh. For me personally, that's where I hold it. Everybody holds it differently. Nick Ray holds it in his arms, for example. It's something that you need to assess, and that's why I take pictures, guys. It's not vain, guys. You're tracking your progress. This is a personal goal for you, so invest in it. I'm not saying throw it on social media. I mean, if you want support, if you need help, do that as well, but take pictures, analyze yourself, and make sure they're pictures in the same lighting and the same poses. That's why I go through my mandatories, is because of the same poses. I do it in the same area you guys see in the kitchen when I do updates or anything like that, because I want all things consistent. It needs to be all things consistent, and then you're changing a variable. Just like science, guys. This is science. Changing variables to see what is a factor in changing things. What's a factor in changing you in body composition and weight. So don't just look at the scale, look at the body composition as well. If you're seeing visual abs, and then all of a sudden the shadows in your abs are getting deeper, or you pinch your skin and you're holding less fat. If you feel beads when you pinch your skin, if you feel like little beads, that's fat. So if you're pinching your stomach and you're feeling around for beads, that's fat. When you're super lean, you don't feel as many beads, and that's how you can tell that you're getting really, really lean. A lot of people think that they're 10% body fat, 12% body fat, but most of the time, guys, you're actually a lot heavier than you realize. And then some people who think that they're really heavy might have less fat than you know. So you don't know until you actually do this stuff. So that's where I would start a cut, guys. That is the starting a cut phase. Those are the tips that I have for you. Set a goal. Get onto MyFitnessPal. Don't throw an arbitrary amount for calories, but make sure you know that your first calorie amount, where you set your macros, is not that important, guys. It's just important that it's enough calories to sustain you off the bat. Make sure that you slowly incorporate cardio. Make sure you slowly taper off calories. And make sure you're consistent with tracking. And also, guys, you really want to make sure you're consistent in the gym. You want to make sure you're hitting your lifts. You want to make sure that you're not skipping too many days off, that you're keeping the volume high. If you're a natural, like myself, I keep my volume high, because me personally, that's the best for hypertrophy. So those are my tips, guys. That is what I do starting into a cut. If you like this video, I really appreciate if you give a good thumbs up. It's actually down there. You can just hit the button. And then if you want to see the rest of this series and you want to see future videos, you can also subscribe down there or check out my playlist on the homepage where I have a playlist of all of the cut episodes. Thank you so much, guys. This series is doing so well so far. I have a lot of videos like these going over certain cardio amounts, certain cardio styles I like to do. There's future videos coming out that are going to be informative, a lot like this one, calculating macros, stuff like that. So make sure to comment below anything you want to see. I really want to make this an informative series in showing sides and being direct and to the point rather than me beating around the bush and giving you tidbits of information in a sea of bullshit. So thank you for watching, and like always, guys, conquer the weights, train like a god.